Hello, a very good morning to all of you. Welcome to Appreciating Drama. And today we are going to see a new era in the evolution of drama. This is called the Romantic period. Now, before we go into the detail, first of all, we should know what exactly is meant by Romanticism, because the word itself needs a definition and understanding. So, I will be trying to give you some deeper understanding of this term Romanticism and what it stands for. So, let us go into the period of Romanticism, and as we go into the division of this era, you should keep one thing in mind, that this division is not a clear-cut division, because these periods are actually meant for kind of study or understanding. So, it is not a very clear-cut division. We cannot say that exactly from which year to which year this particular period is actually. It's a kind of convenience that we have divided so. So, some people say that Romanticism or the period of Romantic era starts from 1750 till 1850, more or less 100 years. But we should not worry too much about this demarcation or division. So, Romanticism, the word, it was an artistic, literary, musical and intellectual movement that originated in Europe toward the end of the 18th century. So, actually it is not just in the field of literature. This Romanticism was actually pervasive. It spread to all the spheres of human existence. Not only literature, it also was there in arts, music and even the philosophy of that time, even the thinking. So, we should understand this word in that sense. It is not something that is related to literature alone. And this movement actually did not start in England. Actually, it started in other countries and then came gradually to England. That we will see later. But it was prevalent all over Europe. And Romanticism arrived later in other parts of the English speaking world. So, from other parts of the Europe, only this movement came to England. The Romantic period was one of major social change in England and Wales because of the depopulation of the countryside and the rapid development of overcrowded industrial cities that took place in the period roughly between 1750 and 1850. So, I told you this is a kind of vague understanding, or let us say it is not actually clear-cut division. It could be around 100 years or even less than, some say it is only around 50 or 60 years, but that is debatable. Now, what is important is that this Romantic period witnessed a lot of historical events in the history of mankind. Mostly there are 4 events that are happening in this period that we will see one by one. What are those events or incidents that changed human history? The movement of so many people in England was the result of 2 forces. So, if you concentrate only on England, we can say there are 2 movements. There are kind of revolution, the meaning of revolution. Revolution means sudden change, that is revolution. So, the first revolution was agricultural revolution. which involved the enclosure of the land, and as a result, the workers were driven off their land. Now, to understand, we should go back to the history of land ownership there. It meant that just like in India, the land belonged to the powerful people, the rich and the powerful, landlords, and the ordinary people did not have much of land. So these people, the ordinary people, depended on the land of the landlords. So according to the mercy of the landlords only, they were allowed to do the agriculture. Now, what happened here was that agricultural revolution gave the power for these landlords to take over a lot of land for farming. So when they did that, the ordinary people did not get a chance to work in those fields. They were turned to farmlands. So naturally, people left their villages in search of job, work, especially towards the cities and towns. So that's the meaning of depopulation of the countryside. And then something was very closely related to that is industrial revolution that happened or that started in England. So the people definitely were feeling better because of this, because all the jobless people or even the landless people got some job in towns and cities. Now let's see the origin of the word romantic or romanticism. The word romantic is derived from the word romance, and in the early Middle Ages, romance denoted the new vernacular languages derived from Latin. So that's the first meaning of the word romance. It meant the languages that came from Latin. Those languages are French, Italian, Spanish and Portuguese. So these languages together, they were known as Romance. It means Roman. Roman means Roman language was Latin. So the languages that originated from Roman origin, that is Romance. In contradistinction to Latin itself. So Latin remained the major language, out of which came other languages. So they wanted to distinguish Latin from other languages. That's why they started using the word Romance, which had been more or less frozen and confined to the learned members of church, court and university. So Latin remained a language of the educationists, the members of the church and the elite, court and university. So it was almost on the verge of dying, this language, Latin. The work produced in the new vernacular languages, also called Romance languages, was called Romance, Roman, Romance or Romance. So another meaning for the word Romance is the work, that is the literary work, like the poetry or prose that was written in these languages were also known as Romance. In Old French, Roman or Roman meant a courtly romance in verse or a popular story. So the French word romance or Roman meant actually a courtly romance in verse. Courtly means people of the palace were living there, like the knights, the king, queens and all that, the romance, or a popular story. That is the meaning of romance in Old French. Any sort of adventure story, be it of chivalry or of love, was called romance. So another definition is adventure story, mostly related to the knights and the heroes. So such kind of stories were also known as romance. They were typically filled with adventurous knights, distressed damsels, evil magicians, fiery dragons and wild landscapes. So an adventure story where you have all these characters like adventurous knights, damsel in distress, a woman in trouble, definitely will be helped by the knight. That's the story. Then we have evil magicians, dragons, all this full of imagination. So another meaning of romance is story filled with imagination. Now again we are going back to the history that influenced this romantic period. Another historical event that took place was definitely the French Revolution. It's marked by the storming of the Bastille on 14th July 1789, and also the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen on 26 August 1789. So here you have got two events which are closely related. That means as a result of French Revolution, where you find the ordinary people fighting against the landlords, the powerful people, and then throwing them out of their power. So that was a very great event in the history of man, which evoked enthusiastic support from English liberals and also radicals alike. So the French Revolution was also definitely close to the British people because their cultures were closely related. So the people of England also supported this French Revolution. So that is another great event that took place. And then even in the United States you find there was the Bill of Rights, that is also in 1789. So these two things are kind of coinciding. Maybe an effect of French Revolution. Even the United States, they are having this Bill of Rights. So the overthrow of the ancient regime here means ancient old rule or the system of kings and all that, royalty in France, a political system that encouraged decadence and luxury, legitimated by the absolute rule of the king, was almost universally heralded in Britain. So when the ordinary people through this corrupt royalty, so they encouraged the royal people, the kings and the people in power, the landlords and all that. There was a kind of decay, decadence, almost corruption, moral corruption was happening there, because they were having a lot of wealth and power and they were enjoying, while the poor people on the street were struggling without even the basic needs. So that was the condition there. Decadence means kind of moral decay. So this overthrow of the regime, that old rule, was even welcomed even in England. Heralded means welcomed. The genre of literature for which the Romantic age is least known is drama. This is a very important point. If you look at this Romantic period, there is something very shocking. That is, drama was not very prominent in that time. And let us see the reason why drama was not actually predominant. Although most of the great English romantics tried their hand at writing dramas, their dramatic works would always pale beside the grandeur and sublimity of the Elizabethan drama. So this is the reason. During the period of Elizabethan era or Renaissance, you find it was known as the golden period of drama, we can say. Under the powerful leadership of Shakespeare and Marlowe, drama was flourishing at that time. And after them, we couldn't find another genius, rising up to that level of Shakespeare and Marlowe. So that is one of the reasons. Though many poets, mostly they are poets in Romantic period, they tried to write some dramas, but it would not stand in front of the grandeur, the splendor and the excellence of the Elizabethan drama. That is the reason. Many romantic poets tried their hand at drama, but none successful on stage. So many of them wrote dramas, but they were not meant to be staged. We could read it, we could enjoy the drama, but those dramas could not be played on stage. That's why such dramas are known as closet dramas. We'll see more about closet dramas later. Now we are going to see some famous poets of this romantic period who also wrote some dramas. First one is P.B. Shelley. He wrote Cenci in 1819 and also Charles I in 1822. We don't know because he was not able to complete that drama. He started writing, but then he left it aside for some other work. That's why there is a question mark there. Maybe somebody else had completed it later, I think. The next one is Samuel Coleridge, again another famous poet. He wrote the play called Osorio in 1797. Then we have Samuel Coleridge and Robert Southey. Their work is The Fall of Robespierre in 1794. And then we have got another great writer, again Lord, his full name is George Gordon Byron, but he is known as Lord Byron, and he is the most successful playwright among romantic poets. His play is titled Marino Faliero Doge of Venice. Actually, Doge here means magistrate of court. So that's the title of his play. It's a political play set in medieval Venice. It was produced in 1821. Most of his plays reached the stage after his death in the 1830s. So while he was alive, his plays were not staged or played. Next writer is John St. John. The Island of St. Margaret, written in 1789. It was censored or it was banned because of a scene where a mob burst into revolutionary song. So people in power, they did not like this kind of revolutionary movements and all, so they banned this play. But it was played later, without license and all that. Another writer is William Godwin's. His play is titled Faulkner in 1807. Then we have got C.F. von Schiller. He is a German. His play is titled The Robbers. It was translated by Alexander Tytler in 1792. Then we have C.M. Wieland's Dialogues of the Gods in 1795. Then we have Charles Lamb. His play is titled John Woodville, 1800. Then Mary Russell Mitford's Charles I. Again, the play is banned in 1825 and staged in 1834. Then we have got some historical battles. There are two of them. One is the Battle of Trafalgar, 1806, and the Battle of the Nile, written in 1815 by Sadler Wells. He is the author. Then you have got some political satires. They are, first of all, one by Robert Southey, The Bugaboo, and Wat Tyler in 1817. Then Elizabeth Inchbald, The Massacre, 1833. George Watson, England Preserved, 1795. Samuel Birch, The Adopted Child, 1795. Then you have got William Wordsworth, the famous poet. His work is Borderers, 1842. Then you have got another lady there, Joanna Baillie. She is from Scotland. Her work is, there are actually four of them. One is De Montfort, Ethwald, The Trial, Basil, and Aura, mostly written in 1798. Then you are coming to melodrama. Among that, the Gothic melodrama. First one is Matthew Gregory Lewis. His work is titled The Castle Spectre in 1797 and the Wood Damon 1807. So these spellings are different because old English. Demon is the spelling. Then we have Walter Scott, titled The Lady of the Lake in 1810. Then Edward Fitzgerald, The Pilot, The Red Rover, The Wrench and the Reef. They are all plays dealing with the sea. It was written between 1820 to 1830. Then we have got Thomas Holcroft. His plays titled, one is Seduction in 1787 and The Road to Ruin in 1792. Then we have got J.R. Planche, The Vampire, 1820, Isaac Peacock, The Miller and His Men, 1813, Douglas Jerrold, Black Eyed Susan, 1829, Jane Howard Payne, Clary, 1823, and John Walker, The Factory Lad, written in 1832. Now coming to romantic plays in general, some characteristics. Romantic plays, old and new, tended to appeal to emotions rather than intellect. So those plays were mostly written to appeal to the human emotion, not to their intellect. So special effects therefore focused on the supernatural and the mysterious. So stories were mostly of imagination and all that. So, but the set were more or less realistic. So the visual over verbal. So till now the dramas are focusing on their dialogue and all that, the communication through powerful dialogue. But here you find they are more concentrating on the scene, the sight, visual aspect, not the verbal. The sensational rather than intellectual. So these dramas are trying to appease human senses, the five senses, the eye, the sight, hearing, smell, all those. So they were trying to be more appealing to the senses rather than intellectual. They were not actually trying to make people think rather than just enjoying the scene. Now here aristocrats tended to go to the opera and ballet, and more middle class now went to the theatre. So here you find there is a kind of division. That is, dramas are mostly enjoyed by the common man, the middle class, while the aristocrats, the royals, they tended to prefer opera or the ballet. Romanticism, a subcategory in Germany, was Sturm and Drang in German. Actually the meaning is storm and stress. So as I told you, Romanticism was not actually evolved in or originated in England. It came from other parts of Europe like France, Germany and all that. And in Germany you find the famous writer, his full name is Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. His plays characterized by sprawling action, long and arduous. Sprawling means spreading to a large area. That means his drama was full of action, fighting and all that. And long and arduous means very laborious, very hard working. So the actors have to do a lot of work on the stage, especially fighting and all that, sword fighting. And his work is known as Faust. There are two parts, part 1 and part 2, 1801 and 1831. Now it is these plays are accepted as more or less closet drama. So as I told you, closet dramas are not meant for the stage. It is just for playing, sorry, it's only for reading, for enjoying the reading. That's why it's called closet drama. You can sit in the closet and read. Yeah, closet doesn't mean toilet. It means just a room. A literary work rather than one to be presented on stage. That's why it is called closet drama. Now we have got again more of Germans coming here. We have got Friedrich Schiller, 1759 to 1805. His story was titled, or the drama was titled Wilhelm Tell, 1804. It's a stirring celebration of democracy, individualism, and nationalism. So here he is dealing with, democracy or rule of common man, individualism and also nationalism. So you find a change of focus. Early it was, dramas were mostly focusing on the high and mighty, the kings, knights, and all that. But here they are coming down to the common man's problems. And in France, we find another great man, Victor Hugo. His Hernani in 1830, it caused a riot. That means public outrage. People started reacting violently to his play. The reason is this question: should long accepted romantic ideals be allowed in France national theatre? That means romantic ideals were, of course, accepted in other parts of Europe, but then France remained more or less kind of puritanic. Puritanism, we already saw. Puritanists are actually trying to preserve tradition. They don't want change. They don't want to dilute the structure of certain things. So in Europe, especially in France, you find kind of reaction against romantic ideals. They said, we don't want such kind of place. We'll stick to our age-old styles in drama, like neoclassical. Actually, neoclassical means following the Greek and Roman tradition in drama. So actually that's what they were trying to do. The French Academy had determined that all French plays would be neoclassical in form. So they wanted to continue in that old style, the Greek and Roman plays. So they found it difficult to accept this kind of romantic plays written by Victor Hugo and all that. Now audience size increased even more. So when common man started going to the theatre, there was a lot of crowd. Seeing becomes more important than hearing. So the visual application, the visual appeal was more than the hearing, the sound. Remember, the sound was so important before and detailed. Realistic sets were not the norm. So in Greek plays and all that, it was the sound, the way the dialogue is delivered, that was very, very important. But the sets were not very realistic. But now you find the other way. Sound, they don't give much importance to sound, but sight. Sight is more important. And the sets are becoming more of modern. We will see that. So the orchestra seats, which had up till then been the cheap seats, became more valuable. Here orchestra seat means actually the seats that are very close to the stage. Even today you find that people who are sitting in front of the theatre, in front here, close to the screen, they are the cheapest seats, and those who are sitting at the back, they are the costliest. So till then the front seats were very cheap, but now they are becoming very valuable because people are able to see more when they are sitting close to the stage. The upper galleries were known as the gods. They were the cheapest. Audiences, especially those in the gods, were loud and vocal. So here gods means just like we have got the balcony those seats were titled gods. So they became very, very cheap, and so it is the ordinary people, those who are poor, they will sit at the back and they will be howling and shouting and all that. Scenery included drops, flats, ground rows, cutaway flats standing free on the stage floor, carefully and realistically painted. So here you find a lot of importance is given to the stage. A lot of curtains were there, and then flats. Flats are actually scenery is painted on panels and all that with a wooden frame. So there is a flat. And drop actually means backdrop or the cloth behind. And ground draw means a long piece of scenery at the base of a back cloth. So these were different techniques used there to make the stage more attractive. Natural settings, candles or oil lamps, but by 1830 gas light was used. So earlier, of course, there was no electricity that time, so they were using only candle or even oil lamps. But by 1830 they started gas light, which had more brightness. So Chestnut Street Theatre in Philadelphia was the first to be lit by gas. That was in 1816. By the 1820s, Covent Garden and Drury Lane theatres in London used gas light. So that was a kind of new invention to make the stage more light filled or more bright. Gaslight increased illumination, had better control of intensity, but still had wavering flames. So gaslight was definitely a kind of improvement, but still you find it was not steady. Then we have got many special effects like flying, maybe people tied on strings and all that, they were able to fly almost. Then trap doors, that means people could spring from below the stage. There was a trap door which could be opened and people could come out or go through that, disappear. That is the meaning of trap door. Then we had water pump systems, maybe for the rain effect. Then moving panoramas to give the illusion of travel. So the back drops or flats, they could move it according to the scene. So we get the feeling that the whole stage is moving, or the people on the stage are moving. Then we have got treadmills. By late 1800, you have treadmill. That it is used for for running and all that. So when people are running on the stage, you feel as if they are running. Actually, they are running on the treadmill. So even horses, they could be made to run on the stage without getting out of the stage because the use of treadmill. So there is another advantage. Even chariot races could be organized there. Even volcanic eruption, fires, etc. So these were all new inventions on stage. Now theatre practice, assumptions. The stage was to present an illusion of reality. So when you look at the scenery and all that, it looks as if they are very real, just like with the different sceneries, backdrops and all that. There could be trees and other mountains. All this could be recreated on the stage with many details and was to be historically and geographically accurate. So depending upon the time and geographical variation, they could show that, depict on the stage with this kind of new arrangements on the stage. Importance. While Romanticism was not at all realistic in its acting, drama or direction, in set, costume and lighting it attempted to be as realistic as possible. So when it comes to acting or drama or even direction, it was not very realistic. It was far from realistic. It was more of kind of more imagination, but on the set and costume and lighting and all, they try to be more of realistic. Romanticism inadvertently paved the way for easier acceptance of realism. Inadvertently means without its knowledge or without any, it happened by chance, accidentally, that means. So, accidentally it actually paved way for a realism which was accepted by the people. But first we must go through a movement that helped make theatre more popular and accepted by the common person. So, actually the role of romanticism was, trying to make the dramas more of realistic, down to earth. There was a kind of clear cut parting away or going away from neoclassical, that is, till then the drama was based on mythology or religion, but now you find it is coming to focusing more or less on human beings, the common man and all that. So, here you find a gradual evolution here. You find the Greek drama and all that mostly based on mythology, Greek mythology or gods, related to gods. Even when you come to miracle plays or morality plays, again they were focusing more or less on religion or religious teachings. But you find starting from maybe Renaissance or Elizabethan period, you find maybe starting with our university wits, they are trying to make it more of intellectual, trying to make drama more realistic or more humanistic. So, drama is gradually coming from heaven to earth. That is the evolution here. First it was dealing with the gods, then coming to religion, then kings and courtly life, and then now coming to dealing with the common man. So, that is a very important or significant change in drama. So, with that we come to the end of romantic period. I hope you have got some understanding of romantic period by now. Thank you. Let us have a good day ahead of us. Thank you.